I hope that was a hard clap for me to sync my audio. First of all, I want to thank you guys for having watched my previous video where I was talking about how I got demonetized. It's been a long time without seeing 1,000 views from a single video on my channel. I want to applaud you guys. So thank you guys for those 1,000 views, and if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel. That's what keeps me going. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how YouTube changed my life. My story starts in 2019. I was in Europe doing my master's. I got into YouTube. I began watching so many YouTube videos from so many different creators across all niches. I landed on this one creator called Peter McKinnon, who motivated me to start creating YouTube videos. I went on and bought my very first camera, which was an Olympus OMD EM5 camera. This camera you see right here was my very first camera. I'll take off the cap so you guys see exactly what I'm talking about. One of the reasons why I bought this camera wasn't just to do YouTube videos. Part of it was to capture some memories of Europe during my stay there. That was why I bought the camera. I bought it for 180 euros just for the body, and the lens, which is a 7 Artisans lens, I bought it for 100 euros. So altogether, it came to about 280 euros. The bag of this camera was also at about, I think it was 50 euros. I spent roughly about 320 euros on my very first camera. I want to give you guys a very small piece of advice here. It's not actually a small piece of advice. It's a serious piece of advice. If you're getting into YouTube for the very first time, don't spend so much money on expensive gear. Don't make that mistake. Always look for second-hand gear that you can work with. Don't go for a very sophisticated camera that you don't know how to operate and is going to be a stumbling block in your journey of creating YouTube videos. Anyway, I digress. Let me tell you, I was so excited about this new thing, and I began learning how to edit videos using Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects, because those were the very first softwares I got introduced to after I watched so many videos on the internet. I was just creating videos for fun. I uploaded them on my channel, which I have had for over, I think, 12 years. So in 2019, when I joined YouTube to actually begin creating serious stuff, I created this channel that you're watching right now called Tura Twige. And I must tell you that when you're starting out YouTube and you begin seeing those little milestones on the YouTube Creator app and the TubeBuddy app, you get motivated to create even more. That was me. I was looking at those milestones I was accomplishing and reaching at, and I was like, man, I just have to keep going. And it happened that in that same year, I was in my last year of my master's degree. So there was a lot of research going on. There was a lot of papers to be written. For some reason, I forgot. Not really forgetting. I began putting YouTube as my first priority, little forgetting that main reason why I came to Europe was to do my master's. Besides that, I was in my last year of completing my master's degree. Listen, I'm writing a bunch of papers, but because YouTube was at the forefront of everything, I began falling short on deadlines. It was a terrible mistake that I made. If there are certain things that are more important in your life, and YouTube is just something that you found along the way while pursuing those things, I want to encourage you and advise you that please, YouTube should always come after those very first things that were there before you started doing YouTube. Don't prioritize YouTube over those other things that were there before. I beg you in the name of God, don't do that mistake, because I made that mistake, and that is why I'm sharing this video, so that you guys don't make that same silly mistake. So 2019 is almost coming to the end. I was tasked with writing 2 papers, one about, there were different topics given to us by our professor, and I chose to write about online marketing. And my case study was Amazon. They'd given us about a month to write this paper and hand it in, because everyone had like a different topic, but that's the topic I chose. Like I said, YouTube was at the forefront. Everything was about YouTube. I wasn't sleeping. You may be asking yourself, like, why was I not sleeping? The biggest mistake I made was I began creating videos in a niche that was highly demanding, and that is the news niche. We all know that news. I meant news, my people. I am African. Okay, English is not my first language. News niche require you to be uploading almost every day. Like you shouldn't be missing a day without uploading if you're in the news niche. You need to be updating your subscribers and updating your followers and viewers about the latest and trending news, whether it's about celebrities, whether it's about like whatever. News just cuts across everything. Could be sports, could be I hope we are safe. Initially, I did not create videos for the news niche. I was creating YouTube videos about tutorials. But because I was in the news niche then, I had to create videos almost every day. I was creating about 2 to 3 videos daily. That is so demanding. We all know that news is happening almost every minute, every hour, every day. And if you're in a news niche, you're supposed to upload daily. You're supposed to keep your subscribers viewing. You're supposed to keep the internet buzzing. You're supposed to keep up with the latest trending celebrity news, the latest trending soccer news, all things in regard to news. You know how it works. I was hitting hard on YouTube, guys. I was serious. I was serious with YouTube, and my channel was just going up and up and up. The views were going up, the subscribers were going up, the analytics were becoming analytics for me. Like I wasn't sleeping all the time. I'm just looking at the app. I'm looking at the notifications. Oh, this video did 300% better than the previous video, or better than the previous day. Things like that. It kept me on my toes. And you know what happened? I wasn't giving enough time to my research thesis. I wasn't giving enough time to my papers, like research papers my professor wanted me to do. I was falling short on deadlines, guys. I was missing out on the very most important things in life. I wasn't socializing with my friends anymore. I was missing out on gym too. Yes, I used to be mugged. Let me tell you, I used to have some muscles, but now not anymore, because I haven't been to the gym ever since COVID hit 2020, but I want to go back to the gym. Anyways, I digress. I remember when I was writing this paper about online marketing, where my case study, of course, was Amazon. My professor wanted us to write a paper that contained at least 1,500 words. That's what he wanted from each and every one of us. That's what he wanted from each and every one of us who had chosen that topic. We had like a month, which is like 4 weeks of writing this paper and getting it done and submitting it. I wasn't even there. I was just chilling, doing YouTube stuff. I never paid attention to the deadline. And he comes to class one day and is like, if you guys are ready to submit your papers, deadline is tomorrow. Please submit your research papers. Panic mode. Hey. I panicked. I went out of the lecture room. I was panicking. I was like, okay, I need to write this paper. I need to get things done and submit this thing on time. But all was because of my stupid choices. I know you can make a career out of YouTube, but never put YouTube in front of the things that are very important to you. If YouTube found you with a family, never let YouTube override and take over your family time. If YouTube found you with a job, never allow YouTube to ride over and take away your time of doing your job. I've seen people who are so possessed with YouTube to the point that they're losing out on their marriages. They're no longer giving enough time to their partners. I must tell you, I was there. That is how bad it was. About the professor thing, so I went back home. I never slept that night. I wrote the paper in one night. You know, it requires you to study different articles, study different material from from the library and all that, collect different information, and then write a paper. If you've written papers before, you must know what I'm talking about at this point. So that's what I did. 2 days later, no, a day. So then the following day was the deadline. I take my paper to my professor. I'm like, here's my paper, finished. But of course, I was late because I was supposed to submit it before midday, but I submitted it later. No, I was supposed to submit that paper at 11 a.m., but I submitted the paper later after 11 a.m. And the professor was mad at me. He was like, yeah, you're late. This is not acceptable. I will not take your paper. I was like, Prof, it's just a few hours. He was like, okay, I'll pardon you, but this is what you're going to do. You're going to do something extra. I want you to expand on this and that and that and that. So I ended up writing up to about 15 pages altogether. A paper that should have been 5 pages, I got a bonus of ×2. So I had to write 10 extra pages. And I did that. He gave me a couple days. I did that, submitted it. I was lucky enough. Like I was not like the dumb one in class. I was smart. So I submitted it. It gave me a very good grade from that paper. Fast forward, that was around August, September, when school had just resumed after the long summer holiday. I am now writing my final thesis for my graduation, and I was supposed to graduate in October of that year, of 2019. But because I was so much taken by YouTube, if you watch my previous video, I talked about how I started doing YouTube videos in September and I got monetized in October. So that pressure of earning from YouTube partner program after you're monetized was on my head. That was all I was thinking about. I completely almost forgot about my research thesis, and I prioritized YouTube over that. I began writing my research thesis, but I wasn't giving it enough time because YouTube was taking up all my time. I was monetized. I wanted to see the money. I missed the first graduation, which was in October. My partner at the time was in Germany doing her placement, like what you call internship, right? So she was doing her placement in Germany and everything was going well. So she really wanted me to graduate by October and then figure out what our next move was. But because I was so much invested in YouTube, I never did that. I missed out on that graduation season. So I had to wait for the next one, which was in December, which is the second graduation. So she began pushing me. She was calling me every day. She was like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm writing my thesis, blah, blah, blah. But I was just lying to her. I was just doing YouTube, man. Like I was just grinding it hard on YouTube. And second graduation comes around the corner. I missed that as well. That was when I was like, you know what? This is not all right. It's not okay to be missing graduations like this. So I put in the hard work. I began working with my professor. During that time alone, I had like changed topics. I changed also my supervisors because I had like I had my first supervisor who was one of the professors I wanted to do my research paper with, my research thesis with. And for some reason, I felt like the topic was going to be very difficult, as it was going to be getting the data that I needed for that research thesis was going to be very difficult because I had already anticipated based on what the topic was. So I dumped that professor and decided to go on with another professor. And I wanted to write something in relation to finance. At first, I wanted to write about insurance, but because the insurance professor or the person who was teaching insurance at the university I was going to at the time had already retired. So there was no one that could take on my topic. So I had to change professors and choose a different professor and write about something completely different. So that is how I wrote about small and medium enterprises and access to credit. If at all I remember the topic very well. I began writing with my professor and I tried to put in the work, but this YouTube thing was dragging me. I wasn't sleeping. I was just creating content and not writing my thesis. It was terrible. At some point, in fact, I think I got insomnia. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I wasn't productive in regard to my research thesis. On the other hand, I was productive with doing YouTube videos. But in terms of what really mattered at the time, I wasn't being productive. So fast forward almost towards the end of... Somebody's calling me. Yeah, that's my co-worker. She's calling me at this time. But man, we are recording a video. We need to get this video done. So the second graduation comes around the corner. I'm now working with my professor. I miss out on that graduation as well. That is how bad it was. All in the name of content creation. I remember my partner coming back from Germany. She came to visit and she asked me how far I had gone with my professor regarding my thesis. And I almost had no answer. You know, she always kept me accountable, but I had no answer for her. I told her, yeah, I'm trying to do things and I missed out on that graduation. I told her I wasn't aware of the deadline of submission, and that's how I missed it. So I told her I wasn't aware of the deadline of submission, and that is how I missed that graduation. So during that time, December, I remember attending one of the graduations of some of my classmates who graduated in December. That was when the news about COVID had started. So there was news about COVID, something in China, blah, 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 blah. But in Europe, there were no cases of COVID at that time. Yeah, life was normal as usual, business as usual, like everything was normal, no lockdowns, no nothing, no cases. So life was okay. And yeah, so people graduated in December and I missed. In fact, there were 2 graduations in December. I remember I missed out on those 2 graduations in December. So those are 3 graduations I missed out because of YouTube. Because of YouTube. How crazy is that? Was I stupid? That's insane. So I missed out on 3 graduations like that, 2020. So 2019. So 2020 comes around the corner and I was like, you know what? I need to get this thing done. I put YouTube on pause. I concentrated on finishing my thesis. And on the last day of submission, because you're supposed to, like the way the university operated was, when you're about to graduate and you have finished writing your research thesis, you upload it on the university's website and then you'll get notified that everything has gone well and then you're ready to graduate. And then you'll get a date for your graduation. And that is what I did. But I was working back and forth with my professor. So I would go to him, he would tell you, you know how research things are. You write a thesis and you take it to the professor. He looks at it, he's like, correct this, correct that, add this, take that out. So I was doing that. And I thought I was almost there. And on the last day, in fact, because the last day was Thursday at midnight. So I never slept on Tuesday. I never slept on Wednesday. I never slept on Thursday. Those were 3 days of typing, studying. I had to make it work. So I completed that and I just uploaded the thing, submitted it on the last day. It was a few minutes to midnight, I remember. I submitted it. And then I crashed because I was awake for a very long time. So my body was beaten. I told you, I think I had insomnia, though it wasn't diagnosed, but I struggled with sleeping. So I submit the thing. Then the next day I go to my professor. I go to the printery. I book a ticket. I go to the printery to print out the copies. So according to the university, we're supposed to print out 4 copies of the research thesis. I printed out 4 copies of that. And then 1 copy, of course, 1 copy is for me. 1 copy is for your professor, who's your supervisor. And then the other copy is for, the 3rd copy is for the library. And then the 4th copy is for the department, like the department library. So I printed 4 copies. I took them to the professor and the professor was so mad at me. I have never seen a man, a grown-up man, scream at me like the way this guy did. He screamed at me and he pounded the table very hard. Very hard. I was scared. I was scared. I began crying. Can you imagine a 27-year-old man crying? I shed tears in front of that man in his office. 2 of us like this. I shed tears, just began rolling down my eyes. He told me, "You're not going to graduate." I paused. Tears began rolling down my eyes. I couldn't speak anymore. I was lost of words to say. He kept on. I even don't remember what he said, but he was just saying, "You're not going to graduate. I told you not to do that. Blah, 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 blah. You shouldn't have uploaded that thing before coming to me. Why did you print this?" I gave him the printed things. He just threw them there. Those printed copies. He just tossed them. He was so mad. And then after some time, I just remained still. I froze in that chair in front of his table. And I was just crying. Tears were just rolling out my eyes. And after maybe a minute or two, he gets up from his seat, goes around the table and comes over to me. And he tells me this. He says, "You see this world? This world has rules." And guys, let me tell you, I learned, this is the lesson he gave me. He told me, this world has rules. You cannot make rules yourself. You don't make the rules. But there are rules that govern this world, and you are supposed to abide by those rules. You don't just come up and make up your own rules. He told me, now you see, you will graduate and get into the corporate world, get a job, begin working. But all those companies you'll be working for have policies. They have rules they go by. You don't just come up and begin making up rules for yourself. And he was like, "Why did you upload the thing before I told you? Why did you go ahead to even print and waste money before my approval?" I was just sitting in this chair. I was just I was quiet. I wasn't quiet. I was sobbing. Tears were just rolling down my face. And he told me, "I didn't mean to make you cry or make you feel bad, but I wanted you to know that this world has rules. This world has policy. Like the world out there has policies and rules upon which it operates." And after that, he told me, "Okay, I want you to compose yourself, go back home and correct this, and that." Of course, he went through some of the pages of what I had written and what I had printed, and he highlighted a few things and told me to make amendments in those areas. And he told me, "I'm giving you 2 days, so come back on Monday." That was Thursday during the day. No, that was Friday. So he gave me the weekend and told me to come back on Monday. So I went back to his office after I had made the amendments that he wanted me to, and we had a little chat. He was different. We were smiling, we were laughing again. But behind my brain, behind my mind, I still had that image of him pounding that table. Rage. It was crazy. He cleared me and he was like, "Okay, so now Tuesday you can go print your thing. I will want you to also meet the other co-professor who will be on the panel on the day of your graduation." So the graduation was on Thursday that week. Yeah, I met him on Monday, made the amendments and everything, printed out the thing, and my graduation was for Wednesday. And long story short, that is how YouTube changed my life. The lesson I learned from that whole story, from that whole journey from 2019 to the time I graduated, I learned that you should never let YouTube take over your life. Don't prioritize YouTube over the most important things in your life, such as family, your education, your job, your relationships. Like YouTube can come second, can come third, can come fourth. It's okay. YouTube is here. It's not going away. But your family, you could lose your family. You could ruin your relationships. You could miss out on very important things like I did. I was falling behind deadlines, which is a terrible thing. So that is how YouTube changed my life. That is what I learned. I learned so much throughout the journey, and I am still a work in progress. To this day, I still struggle to balance YouTube and my relationships. I'm trying. I'm not saying that I'm just seated. I'm trying. That's why you see like I told you, I haven't been very active on the platform. It's because of that, because I'm trying to make it right. Anyways, that is the story of my life. That is how YouTube changed my life. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button. And I must tell that I'm not a great storyteller. I just want to tell my stories the way the events happened. That's it. I have no structure. Like, I'm just telling you how events went from A to B to Z. That is how I want to tell my stories. So thank you guys for watching. Hit the subscribe button and don't forget to say hi to your mom. I love you and I'm out of here. Peace.